Hello, welcome to another video. It is 3 months since my surgery. I am so happy with the results. Everything's getting better. The whole recovery is getting better. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about my experiences and my recovery throughout the last 3 months. So right after the surgery, actually is not that painful. I didn't find it painful. I have stomach cramps more painful than post-surgery. Yes, when I woke up, I was probably still full of anesthesia and stuff, and yes, they were giving me painkiller through a little drip that was going into my arm, but yeah, that was the first 3 days, and the only thing that was really painful was the first time I stood up. On the third day, when I stood up, I felt sick, I felt nauseated, I wanted to throw up, and I felt pain inside due to the sickness, as well as that was like a muscly pain, as well as a sharp pain around here. Now, my incision is here, and the sharp pain was around here. Yeah, as soon as I sat down, it was okay. While the pain itself wasn't that bad at all, really. The worst part was lying in bed all the time. I just felt very uncomfortable. I had no strength to move because I did 2 surgeries at the same time. I had no strength in my stomach area. I had no strength in my abdomen area. I couldn't get up. I wasn't allowed to use the strength of my arms to push myself up. And that really sucks. So I was just in bed like this, like not using my neck to just lift myself up, because I think most of us really take for granted how much the rest of our body really helps us to stand out when you lose just some function or some parts of your body that you're not allowed to use. It is really hard and complicated just to get up. The surgery that I got was a 650cc breast implant in both breasts. The incision was down here and it is submuscular. The doctor said no, if it's above 500cc, it's too big, it cannot go under the armpit and it cannot go above the muscle. So I went submuscular. If you're under 500cc, you can do the armpit method, you can do above muscle, that's great. The second surgery that I did was the body contouring, taking the fat from my upper and lower abdomen, my arms, my thighs, as well as my back, and then put them into my hips, as well as just a little bit 2cc around here, just to make my chin a little bit more pointy, so it's more feminine. The first 2 weeks I couldn't get up on my own, and the first 2 days were just the worst because I felt really uncomfortable. The hospital beds, they were fine, but at the same time I was like really struggling. I really want to get out of it. It was just not, the softness level was not to my liking or not what I was used to. So my back, especially just behind my shoulders, was always very uncomfortable. And every time I wanted to actually sit up and get up, my friend would help me. God bless her. I love her so much. She looked after me every day when I was in Thailand. She put her hands around my neck and, lift me up. And at first there would be some nauseating feelings. I would feel a little bit sick the moment I sat up, but after a while it would go away. There was a time in the first week where my back would start to get really tired because I was sitting like this, leaning forward. But I leant forward a lot of the time because that was the only time when the inside sort of like just muscle pain would go away. If I was to sit up straight, the pain would eventually come due to, I guess, just being tired and the healing process. I'm okay when I lie down, but yeah, that is the thing you gotta. So I sit forward, I have another pain, I sit back, I have a different pain. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just mostly, I would describe it as just being uncomfortable, just like, not right. It's just, it's not any, there weren't any like sharp pains, excruciating pains, like, oh my god, I rushed to the hospital. It was mostly just, come on. So one of the things after surgery, especially with the liposuction and the breast area, is that you do not want your tissue to heal the wrong way. You do not want your tissue to harden up. And there's, especially with the fat area, there's a lot of little hard little lumps that you gotta massage and get it soft again. So there were a few sessions of massage back at Carmel Hospital that I went to, and the lady was very nice. She was a professional masseuse. She'd been working doing massages for many years, but I couldn't do too much of it, not because I was in pain and stuff, but because I'm very ticklish. So that kind of sucks, especially with my abdomen area and my arm. I was like, ugh. But after that, keep massaging yourself, and eventually about a month in, or a month and a half, you start to feel everything's getting softer again. But you might also feel like it's not as soft as before. Yeah, because they took a lot of fat out. So I was just like, oh yeah, no, that's no. I remember that from when I was used to be thin and back in school. So I was like, why does this still feel really hot? No, that's just my meat, not the fat. That was. Another thing I experienced in the first week is a lot of bruising on the skin, especially around the lipo area. My friend also had some sort of fast transfer. She had like purple on her legs for like a whole week, maybe even 2 weeks. For me, within a week, all the bruise just kind of like faded out, extended out, and then faded away. I healed very quickly. In fact, the nurses at the hospital was like, you did 2 surgeries, but you're healing at the speed of only just 1 surgery. I was like, and so lucky me, I had no problem with the anesthesia, I didn't have too much pain, I was just mostly uncomfortable, but I also healed quickly. The few areas I do have small scars from the liposuction, I'll show that in a minute. Okay, so body review, I guess I have to, so I am very happy with how everything looks currently. I am a 38 double D, I used to be like an A, and then I got my hip shapes here, so just quickly now because I also have to show you some of my scars. And then finally the breast and body review. I know some of you are just here for that, you perv, but for everyone else, so anyway, without further ado, ta-da! So this is my body shape now. My tummy is way less big than before. I got my dip shapes here. And I got my breasts, which I am very, very, very happy with. Hello, what? Through the chef. Anyway, so let's go with the scars. I had a scar here from, I guess, taking the fat out from my abdomen. And it healed okay for a while, but then there was a time where it was dry, it wasn't bleeding or anything, but there was a hole right in the center. It was a very clean, straight hole down here. It wasn't too big, it's about like 0.5 millimeter, I want to say, like its circumference, but it was like straight in and it's like not closing up, so that took a while to heal, and that's still kind of there. I have a tiny scar here as well. The bottom scar here is from where I got my gallbladder removed. You see the stitch? It's very poor, there's a whole line there. Not good. This scar is also from the gallbladder. That was a cream area, like public hospital. It was free, but at the same time, it's like, come on, the scar's there. And I have a scar. See, this is a liposuction scar. It's faded. Oh. And I have another one here from the gallbladder as well. So no, that's not part of this. I have 2 scars right down here around the bikini area. Those are also, I guess, to pull out the fat. And I also have like this one here on both sides. You see this one is still a bit of a big area. So the thing with some of these scars is that they healed up, they dried, but then I must have like rubbed it wrong or scratched it or something. It got wet again, so I had to put some bandage on it, and it took a long time, especially this one, to actually close up and dry. I was worried of something wrong, that wasn't healing right. Actually on month 2 and stuff, this was like a wider line. I've been putting like scar gel on all of it, so this one's been closing up a bit better, so thank God for that. So for a while it's getting wet. I also actually have one on my back as well. And I also have like a little scar here and here, all in my elbow areas, but of course those are not too obvious. My skin's darker there anyway, so it's okay. Okay, you can see my scar right here. I've heard people talk about if they were to go to a cheaper doctor, or a cheaper one in the Philippines, for example, where the scar would be longer and less and not flat. So the skin here is actually really flat. It's smooth. I can't really, because I know the scars there and kind of feel it, but otherwise I can't really feel it right there. You can see it right there. And I've been putting like scar gel on it since after 1 month post-op, or 1.5 months post-op, so 1.5 months on there. So I got that scar here, and here you see a little circle there. That one also became wet again, so I guess I must have rubbed it the wrong way or something, but it took a while to dry up and heal, and now it's okay. I did get a little bit worried about all of those, but okay. So I am really happy with my shape so far in terms of the recovery of the fat transfer. That's fine. All of my tissue and my body, that's softened up again, that's okay. Around 2 months actually post-op, it's already feeling mostly okay, and I was wearing like a corset thing every night just to squeeze in the skin so it doesn't get too flabby and stuff. That's something you gotta do, really tighten up the skin around all of the areas where you took the fat out. So that's healed pretty well. I say 2.5 months post-op, I really couldn't feel any hard or weird areas anymore. I'm still a little bit numb in some areas, especially under the arm, but I think I've always been kind of a bit numb there, just a little bit, so that's something you gotta watch out for. Okay, back to the breast implants right now. The top half of it, I have normal feeling. The nipples still sting a little bit, which is actually a good thing. It means the nerves are still intact. They didn't die during the process, thank God. This can take up to 6 months to like fully recover, so hopefully the nerves still hurt by then. The bottom half of my breast have slowly regained feeling, but it's still a little bit numb too. So the first month, I would say my entire boobs were just numb. 1.5 months post-op, I started to get feeling on the top, and the pain was really settling in on the nipples. It was like touching fire and electricity. Like, it's really bad when you just like touch it. Like if you're wearing a padding or something, it's okay, but if you like just sort of poke it, it's like, ooh, no, don't feel like that. About 2 months in, most of the feeling has come from the top half of the boob, and now 3 months in, the feelings are just slowly sort of fading down, moving down. In terms of the drop and fluff, that's when the when you first get it, everything's really tight and flat and it's pushed down, so the boob's like pushed, like squeezed like a sponge, just pushing it down, so that the area is bigger but it's flatter. Of course, you don't want that. So by now on month 3, you can see like it's very round and stuff. In the first one, most people are like, hey, why it doesn't look so big? Like, because it's pushed down. So the muscles start to soften up. You gotta massage all the time. In terms of the massage, you push it together like a minute every day. After that, hands like this, you gotta squeeze it. Don't do it too fast, don't do it too hard. I got a bruise down here because I was pulling flesh and muscle too much. And then you have to do it up and down as well, about 50 times or a minute every night. And I'm on my 3rd month now, so I've stopped doing that. I also used to wear like a strap that holds it together, because when you lie down, you don't want the boobs to go outwards. That would be really bad. So I'm okay now because I can, if I want to, I can squeeze my boobs together. Like, it's not a problem. There's some people who've had the breast surgery where it's too far apart and they can't do that. It looks a bit weird. But the drop and fluff, it's kind of down here, it's going back up. I felt the skin here fold for the first time, like about 2.5 months in. I was like, what's that? Oh, that's my skin, it's folding. Like, yay, it's getting soft. And the tissue around everywhere, it's just getting softer and softer. The bottom area, again, that one's taking longer to fully recover, but so far so good. One other thing about the boob drop is because mine's submuscular, that means that, if my muscles move, it will affect the boob somewhat. So especially when I do, like if I put some strap on my arm, if I want to push something like this way, you can see like it moves my boob a little bit, just a little bit. I'm like, damn, and it's okay because I'm not always doing that, but at the same time, there's a weird sensation. It kind of tickles inside. I'm like, In terms of the feeling of the breast, I do not feel the weight at all. It's like it's invisible. I cannot feel it. I do not feel the silicone inside me. It feels completely normal, natural now. At first, my chest felt really tight. I was like, now it's totally okay. It feels perfectly fine. And you're thinking like, no, but doesn't it have some weight and stuff? So imagine you were holding a bottle of water. You're like, okay, this is heavy. And then you down the bottle of water, you drink all of it. It spreads in your body. You can't feel it anymore. You don't suddenly feel like, oh, suddenly so heavy because the water's inside. No, that's how it feels. Like it's just done. So that's really good. I don't have back problems because I'm like, oh, it's so heavy. No, it's okay. I did not feel it at all. And for my body size, I think it's perfect. And I am really happy with them. So I look forward to reach the 6 months post-op point where everything supposedly, will be healed and fine by then. I hope all the feelings come back to normal. I know the pain on the nipples are gone because, I don't want it to hurt, And I'm just really happy with the overall results. And I will say this, you could get cheaper doctors, but then the scars might be bigger, they might be more bumpy, more obvious. You go to a cheaper doctor and maybe the implants aren't so good. Or maybe it takes you longer to heal because, they didn't stitch you properly. For some people, this could be just a one-time surgery and it can last you the rest of your life. And I think it's worth paying just a little bit more or going to a doctor that you can really trust to get good results instead of cheaping out there, because it is your body and it is something that, it's going to go inside. It is a surgery. If you go somewhere cheaper and something bad happens, you got to go back. You got to eventually pay more because you got to do more surgeries to fix something. So definitely don't cheap out on this kind of surgery. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me about this. I am just been so happy since this. It's like my body feels complete now. I feel like this is me. Really the only other surgery I still want to get is the voice feminization surgery at Korea. So let's see how that goes next year. Yeah. Feel free to ask me anything. Take care. Have a nice day. I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.